Throne and Liberty is destroying itself. Again, it's a never-ending cycle at this point. They add some kind of pay-to-win stuff, people complain, they remove it, say they won't do it again. Then they add another pay-to-win thing that's different. And the same thing happens over and over again.
Okay, listen, we get maybe one new traditional MMO per year if we're lucky. There's a lot of other semi-MMOs that come out, but if we're talking about a classic style, old school MMORPG, we don't get many. It is a rare occasion. So when one does come along, it's a pretty big deal. I love the genre. I enjoy playing new games. I want them to
True, we all do.
be good. Shocker. Throne and Liberty is one new MMO we've been keeping track of for a while. The game showed promise with some cool features and content, huge open.
The game showed a lot of promise. Effectively, it's Guild Wars 2, but you're not stuck with the skills you get from weapons. You get to pick and choose between different skills, different weapons, and there's no weapon swapping, and that is amazing. My opinion is if Guild Wars 2 reworked the way that their weapon skills work, made it more flexible, more with options, and removed the cooldown between swapping, Guild Wars would absolutely wreck, because Guild Wars progression is horizontal, and it does a pretty good job at it. There's always something to do, there's always something to fund, there's always something to progress. It's very good.
World and great looking visuals, which certainly doesn't hurt. As you may already know, it launched in South Korea last year, and that went, well, actually not too bad initially. Early reception
It's South Korea at the end of the day.
of the Korean release was overall positive. This was mainly due to the fact that the core of the game was actually pretty good, like NCSoft ended up delivering on a lot of those promising looking features and content. The game does in fact have a massive open world with thousands of players sharing a single server. They don't do phasing either, so at
Very cool.
times you will see hundreds of people bobbing around in a single area. There are open world public events, non-instance large-scale dungeons, solo challenge tower climbs,
Non-instance dungeons makes me remember Anarchy Online. Good times. You just go to the end boss, get a party, and you farm it. It's pretty cool.
world bosses, open world PvP, tons of varied guild activities, and plenty of character, account, and power progression to grind for. Then beyond the generally nice visuals, the game has this massive draw distance, a good variety of biomes, and lots of traversal options, making it a fun space to explore, and it all runs pretty well to boot. So the content side of Throne and Liberty, like as an MMO, as a game, actually appeared pretty solid. It was pretty solid. People seemed to enjoy it. There was also the fact
Yeah, I mean, the hype was real. You got the trailer, you got to see the stuff, and then came the open beta or whatever it was called, and oh, you can't move while attacking. If you move, you can't attack. That's okay. So if I start running away, I'm immortal. Yup, very great game design, and thankfully that got fixed.
that many of the gameplay and systems complaints people had during early beta testing had been addressed. Combat was overhauled from its previously static nature with no mobility. You literally stood completely still, staring at people spamming attacks. If you moved at all, you did 0 damage.
This was, in my opinion, they did the combat like that initially because there is an auto farm feature. I'm pretty sure they removed it or something. But yeah, this was a pay-to-win game at its core to the absolute maximum.
Was changed to a more dynamic and fluid system, more in line with modern day tab target MMOs. It's now more balanced. You can move while doing basic attacks. There's also many skills that have built-in movement or can be cast while on the go. And finally, they removed the autoplay feature called Astral Hunting, where you could click
they removed it. Nice. Because you don't even need to be logged on while that's happening.
a button and the game would play itself, farming and grinding for you while you were AFK. In removing that, they also retuned a lot of the progression.
Oh, was it not that you can just log off? Well, in any case, no one wants that garbage.
Farming speeds to be more in line with the fact that people would actually be playing. So yes, thanks to the game actually having a decent core foundation of systems, features, and content, the initial reception to Throne and Liberty's Korean release online and in reviews, on message boards, it all seemed pretty darn good. However, once the honeymoon phase faded and people started diving into the end game, some of the bigger issues started cropping up. Near the top of the list, unsurprisingly, from a game developed by NCSoft, hey, It was pretty pay to win. Turns out, pretty pay to win. The power progression via gearing is both heavily time gated and about as pay to win as it can get, with direct ties into the game's monetization. So for starters, gear can be leveled up similar to how it works in many MMOs. You will start with the base level version of a piece of gear, and then using items and currency, you will make it stronger. In Throne and Liberty, this is done via what are called growth stones, which are acquired by completing various activities and doing contracts, which are sort of like daily quests in the game, or
we saw this previously, but initially didn't seem that big of a problem. Well, again, it all depends on how many of these stones you can get. For example, if you get like one a day and you can buy 10 for $10, you know what that means.
you can purchase gems that convert into growth stones using real money on the auction house. This auction house will come up a few times here as it exclusively uses a currency called Lucent, which is the game's premium currency. So you spend real money.
And we also know this. Now, the reason why I didn't think it is so bad, because this just needs adjustable rates. Because every person can actually get the special currency. That was the big thing about this. You can take something, put it in the auction house for the special pay-to-win currency. And then you get the pay-to-win currency without actually paying. And that's a pretty decent system. If done right, it's fine. But obviously the problem here, it's not done right.
You buy a bunch of Lucent in the cash shop, and then you use that Lucent to buy stuff from other players in the auction house. So then there's enchanting your gear via the trait system. This is one of the main end game grinds. Traits provide massive power boost to your gear. So you get traits by finding multiple versions of the same piece of gear, which you do by playing the game and farming for drops, doing things like dungeons. Or you can purchase traits directly from the auction house with real money. Also, the main way you get gear and the components to upgrade it is by running dungeons. Every day, the number of dungeons you can run is limited by dungeon tokens. So you get a set number, which is 900 per day. This lets you run about 2 to 3 dungeons, depending on the tier of dungeon that you're running. But then once you've spent all of your dungeon tokens, you can no longer do any more runs. You are finished. Or if you purchase a blessing from the cash shop, you get more tokens to run additional dungeons every day. This equates to nearly 9 additional tier 2 dungeons.
Oh boy, yeah, that is highly problematic. Well, GG Throne and Liberty. Well, no, this is just the Korean part. And they're kind of happy with this. I don't know what's with Koreans and, the concept of, oh yeah, if a game completely extorts me for cash and forces me to sell my kidneys to play, it's fine. But this is currently, remember, the Korean version. The US version is going to be different
per week. This lets you drastically speed up one of the biggest bottlenecks for progression in the game, because running these dungeons are how you get the gear to power up your stuff, and you were limited by day, and you can buy this blessing that lets you run 9 more tier 2 dungeons every single week. Then there's also the fact that skills have progression. Getting a skill to its highest rarity and level provides another big boost in power. You level up skills by using training books, which are acquired through various means playing the game, or, you guessed it,
pay to win. Jesus. Man, I had high hopes for Throne and Liberty. I was hoping, hey, man, that kind of removing all this garbage, maybe there's a chance this is going to be good, because the game looks good. The combo of skills, everything. It just looks like something I would like. But it's pay to win garbage. It seems like at the very end also it's going to be like that.
You can make books by purchasing gems with real money in the auction house. Basically, you can pay to acquire and speed up after play to get things like the base level versions of gear.
Well, if you can pay to win to get one thing, you can pay to win to get everything. That's how it typically works.
To get certain resources and to level up certain things, but that is all relatively easy. Everything else about progressing your power, the gear leveling, the gear trading, the dungeon runs you can do per day, and the leveling of your skills, that can all be accelerated greatly just by spending money. So the TLDR is, this game is very pay to win. Even its most ardent defenders, the people who love this game and still play the Korean version every day, they all agree it's pay to win. You got people saying, yeah, I'm pretty near max level. I almost got all my traits done. I got full purple gear. But also, yes, the game is pay to win. People who swiped got there way faster than I did. Now, it is still the case that for a lot of these things, the gates to getting this stuff is the fact that...
Okay, so there is a level that pay to win is acceptable, and I think that's lost stock. First of all, it doesn't matter if someone is way above you. If they're bad at pressing buttons, they're gonna be below you, no matter what the situation is. Second of all, in Lost Ark, you can pay to win, yes, but if you just, play the game at a base level, you're always gonna be there when the new content releases. And you're gonna have a stacked out character ready for that content, and you're gonna probably have two more characters that are almost there doing the same content. Or maybe you have two characters if you play more. Depends on how much you play. But, the game can be pay to win, but if you just play it like a normal person, you still get there where everyone else is as pay to win in a relatively short amount of time.
It needs to be farmed by someone. Some real player somewhere has to get them. The real power increase comes from stuff that, yes, you can farm, takes a long time, or you can buy it to extremely accelerate it by spending real money, essentially. Not even essentially. You spend real money, you get Lucent, you trade that Lucent. There's one step removed from you buying power. You're not actually buying the pieces of gear directly from the developer. You're buying them from players, but you're given money.
Yeah, it's the classic, oh, you're not spending real money, you just put in 10 euros and you got 2,000 special gems, and then you converted those special gems into powdered dust molecules, 5,000 of them in fact, and then you traded that. Yeah, it's still pay to win.
Money to the developer to get the currency to buy it from the player. So you're buying power basically right from the source, right? And something you need to realize is this is definitely one of those games where the power discrepancy between someone who is fully geared, fully traded out, fully maxed out skills versus those who aren't in any of those categories, it's a pretty big difference. A maxed out player can mow down hordes of undergeared ones in PvP. The counter argument that I will often see to this is the fact that this is a game that is primarily focused on large scale group PvP, tens if of hundreds of thousands of players running around. So the fact that like one pay to win whale guy can smash through like 10, 20 people, no problem. It doesn't matter because once 30 people show up, that guy's screwed.
Well, but what if there's two whales? What then?
So it's not really pay to win, right? Because the game revolves around group play. Yeah, it's like, but what if everyone in one, what if like most of the people in one group are all those whales and they're just smashing everyone? Like, okay, you only need, all right, so if you got 300.
This is like the Diablo Immortal excuse when it came out. No, it's not that much pay to win. What do you mean it's not pay to win?
Whales, you only need 3,001 other players, and then they've tipped the scales. It's like, dude, bro, no, I'm sorry. It's clearly pay to win. Like I said, though, there doesn't seem to be a lot of pushback against.
The people who defend pay to win are going to go to the absolutely wildest, unreasonable lengths to do it. Same thing when there's something really bad happening, like, Bethesda existing or the Acolyte currently. People who defend that stuff are gonna go to such extreme lengths to even get a single sliver of "aha, I told you so" situation.
Against this, even from the people who are really into the game, they seem to mostly agree. At least from what I've seen, what I've read, the people I've spoken with, people I know who play this every day. They're like, yeah, I like it. It's super pay to win, but I do enjoy it. Anywho, so yes, you can get just as powerful as a free-to-play player. It just takes a much longer time, weeks of grinding, and also worth noting, it pretty much requires you being part of a big dominant.
You can get as powerful as a free-to-play player. You messed up the thing there a little bit.
Guild on your server. So just bear that in mind. If you want to play Throne and Liberty, and I do, if you're not probably going to play hardcore from day one, if you're not going to be part of this big massive guild that's dominating your server, giving you access to all the best stuff and the best drops, you're going to fall behind pretty quickly to the swipers. This is not really a game that you can solo or even play with your group of buddies. You're five dads who like grinding MMOs on the weekends. Unless you guys get in a big horde of players, you're probably pretty screwed in this game as well, in the sense that you will fall behind. There's still a game to play, and maybe that's what you do, right? But yes, Throne and Liberty is a large-scale PvP focus.
The PvP focus kind of is the bad one here, I would say, obviously, right? You can't have... Lost Ark also has PvP, but the PvP doesn't matter. When in Arena, there's gear balancing. You can do PvP, you cannot do PvP, you have a choice how you want to do it, but no pay to win. There is no way to pay to win an actual PvP arena. The only place where you really felt PvP was in guild versus guild activities, when it was a PvP event, guild versus guild, and you just had to kill each other. It was like, okay, I'm gonna turn into Stork now here and sit at the edge of the map, and maybe I will not get killed by the people who have paid more likely more than 10k here, and that's why they're doing the PvP stuff, because there's no amount of skill that's gonna change the amount of gear difference here, sadly.
Game. It is a guild focused game, and if you're not grinding nonstop, if you're not part of a big group, or if you're not swiping, you're gonna fall behind. There is PvE to be enjoyed though, but that does only go to a point. That is not the main focus of Throne and Liberty. You should realize
Wait, what? Seriously? The main focus of Throne and Liberty is not PvE?
that once you finish leveling, it's all about large-scale group activities, specifically slanted towards favoring the PvP stuff, because there's a lot of it. There's a big focus here. And that can be fine, right?
Wait, that just kind of destroys. How did I miss that? What?
And this is probably what
Well, you can probably ignore it.
I'm gonna do. Like, if you just want to explore the world, if you want to
Ooh.
see some content, you want to level up, maybe play for a few weeks or something, Throne and Liberty looks like it actually will deliver on that front. But if you had any inclination towards playing for an extended period of time, towards being anywhere near the top and doing much of that end game, just realize everything that we just talked about will be part of your experience. Now, beyond all the pay-to-win stuff, it seems like one of the bigger issues that has plagued Throne and Liberty since its release has been the massive amounts of botting. So bots in any MMO, that can be annoying, right?
Yeah, well, you know, bots are a thing and they constantly happen. I mean, Diablo 4 has bots at the end of the day.
Right? They're online farming 24/7. This can be messing up the economy. They can be clogging up grind spots, preventing you from getting drops that you're looking for. Maybe if your MMO that you're playing has mob
This doesn't look that bad. Oh yeah, this is a classic.
tagging, they can be tagging quests.
And the obvious problem here is, why would the developers want to get rid of all these bots if the bots make the game look more alive? No one wants to play a dead game. So the developers have kind of an incentive to not delete the bots.
Mobs, which screws you up. That could be happening. Nobody likes having any MMO overrun by bots, right? It doesn't matter what game it is, but it's a bit of a bigger issue in Throne and Liberty.
Honestly, if I don't see the bots, I literally could not care less, but you know.
Specifically for how it affects endgame, because Throne and Liberty does have a big focus on competition with its ranking and leveling system for players and guilds. So in the Korean version of the game, guilds with players using autoplay macros and or bots have been gaining a significant lead over guilds who don't, as they are able to constantly
Well, duh, I guess.
farm materials and currency with those bots running all day, and then use that into feeding and boosting their ranks and levels. Why do guild ranks matter? Well, they actually matter quite a lot, because the #1 guild on every
Oh yeah, the guild ranks matter in this game a lot, because guild ranks unlock dungeons that you can do. You get special if your guild progresses and does things and gets bigger and better. You unlock new dungeons that you can do with the guild. It's a very cool premises, by the way.
server
That could theoretically completely ruin the social dynamics of the game at a point where the game has been already out for a year or so, depending on what happens. But again, every game tries their best to make every system, and then it gets destroyed by a bunch of players just finding better ways to do things. It's the never-ending cycle. And it's beautiful.
will gain exclusive access to a castle, which, if defended, rewards them millions of Solent and Lucent. Solent is the in-game currency, think just like gold equivalent or something, whereas Lucent is that premium currency that we mentioned earlier.
That sounds like a thing that, you kind of do. Okay, is this the inbuilt game reason to pay to win? Because you can do this?
Earlier, guilds who have just normal players playing, they are at a big disadvantage because, they have to sleep. They might go to work or school or do anything else that pulls them away for a PC for a period of time, which means they will fall behind in their rankings against those who are online playing 24/7, either playing themselves or running their bot when they're not playing. Since the game released, botting has been a constant issue.
If everyone has a bot and I get given a bot, or I can use a bot if I'm not going to get banned, I'm actually kind of fine with that. As long as everyone's on a playing field, I don't actually care if it's some kind of astral hunting BS or it's botting or whatever. As long as we're on the same playing field and you don't get an unreasonably dumb advantage like this, where you literally can just put in 300 hours in a goddamn day, I'm kind of okay with that.
in Throne and
Hot
Liberty
take, though.
on the Korean servers. Many of those servers are run by guilds. The top guilds on the servers are full of players using bots in addition to their playing to keep that grind going, to maintain their high rank, putting them out of reach against guilds that aren't full of players who are running 24/7. You know what I mean? It's pretty obvious, right? And the thing to keep in mind here is that is on the Korean servers, which require a Korean phone number in order to register an account. That requirement isn't going to exist globally. You can just make it's a free-to-play MMO. So seeing as the game is free-to-play, it is like...
Yeah, but the Korean servers also have a completely different way of looking at people who do these things. So this is not going to be for the West. If you're botting 24/7, you're probably going to get banned at some point.
Likely that botting is going to be an even bigger issue in the global release unless they crack down on it and do more bans, because you can ban a botter, right? But unless those are hardware bans, they're just making a new account and they're coming right back, and they won't even have that obstacle of requiring a phone number to make an account like they do in Korea, which just means it's going to be that much easier for botting players to populate new accounts and start over. And you know, the funny thing is, the game had a built-in bot system when it was first coming out. That astral hunting that they removed from the beta due to beta tester feedback, only for the game to then end up being full of players botting anyways. Wow, it's almost like they knew, right? It's almost like they knew.
It's a classic.
This game is probably gonna have bots. We probably won't be able to stop them, so we'll just put botting in the game. But then they removed it because people were upset. But now bots are here anyways. Just can't win. Well, we could maybe if they were better at detecting and or banning, or if they cared enough to get rid of all the botters, whatever combination of those elements it is. So despite the relatively positive initial impression,
they don't want to get rid of the botters. That's the thing, especially in games like this, okay, where you have no layering and whatnot. How hard it is to find bots? Not hard at all. Because chances are, if there is a bot farm, it's all going to be at one location. Because making a bot farm that farms 100 billion different locations is literally the stupidest thing ever. Because you lose so much just from a single ban. So all the bot farms would be at one place doing the exact same thing, and you could easily find them out. Exactly at the start of the video somewhere here where we saw the bots. Everyone knew that they're bots. You just take one glance, oh, all these people banned. They're not people, just bots, banned. But they will never do this because it's, you know, bad publicity effectively. It lowers their player numbers and things like that.
Impressions that we saw online, like in those first few weeks or whatever when the game first launched in Korea, between the pay to win, between the botting, and for other reasons, Throne and Liberty's Korean launch was a major flop for NCSoft. How do I know this? Well, they pretty much told us themselves. In their financial reportings for Q4 2023, the period in which Throne and Liberty released, it was revealed that the company saw a 31% overall revenue drop year over year. So things were not going so hot, clearly, for the company as a whole. During these calls, NCSoft typically also presents earnings broken down for each individual game during the quarter. However, for the first time in 8 years, they neglected to do so here. In fact, they didn't even mention Throne and Liberty a single time during the reporting. Now, when asked by their investors why, the company responded saying that Throne and Liberty had underperformed, falling below expectations, and they were working on sorting out the game's rough launch while also putting their efforts in the upcoming global release. And then most recently in May, we got the first quarter 2024 financial reportings. This time, they brought back the per game revenue figure breakdowns.
Yeah, but you need to understand also what happened in 2022 is different what happened in 2023 and what the world was like and whatnot. So, you know, that needs to be accounted for, but they can't account for it, sadly.
For every game except Throne and Liberty. All of their other major IPs were listed here. They said, hey, here's how much money we made with Lineage 2, with Aeon, with Blade and Soul, with Guild Wars 2, and that was it. Throne and
Bruh, Aeon still exists? Are you kidding me?
Liberty apparently did so poorly, they didn't even bother putting it on the chart. NCSoft reiterated at the end of the call that the game wasn't doing well, but they had high hopes for the global launch. Now, I need you to think about this. After over a decade in development, hundreds of millions of dollars in funding, they launched a brand new MMO, and they didn't even bring it up in the reportings of the quarter that it came out in. They didn't even...
Sounds like a Disney movie.
Even bother putting it in the bar graph in the most recent reportings a quarter later next to Lineage and Aeon and Blade and Soul. Like, are people even still playing those games? Lineage came out in 98 after all. Guild Wars 2, it gets memed a lot, but I like the game. I actually think it's a pretty great MMO.
Guild Wars had a resurgent resurgence in player base. It's actually still very lively, in fact.
It's just really dated at this point, at the very least.
But yeah, it feels dated when you start playing, but then 5 minutes pass and you're like, I'm okay with this.
I think they need a visual overhaul, but apparently they're working on Guild Wars 3. Anyways, it must be doing well enough because Guild Wars 2 constantly gets brought up as NCSoft's highest earners, unlike Throne and Liberty. So just out of curiosity, by the way, knowing all this, I decided to put all 5 games into Google Trends. And oh boy, you can't even see Throne and Liberty on the timeline. It is dwarfed by every other NCSoft game. Barely.
Well, when Guild Wars released, it was a big deal. When Ion released, it also was a pretty big deal. So, yeah. Lineage, well, everyone knows what that works. Blade and Soul, yeah, okay. But yeah, the fact that you can't even see the green here, impressive.
Registers as a line. Clearly, the game is not doing very well. And then just the other week, we saw the resignation of Throne and Liberty's producer. So as a producer, he was the one in charge of the business side of the game's development. Him stepping down, maybe not all that surprising considering all of the above. Now, some things have happened since the Korean launch, besides NCSoft saying that it wasn't doing well financially. The devs have actually made quite a few updates to the game, and based on the community response, these have been mostly positive. They removed some of the pay to win for the end game, specifically with the tier 2 gear. You actually have to play in order to acquire.
Makes sense because you have 2 choices and they went for choice 1. Choice 1 is, hey, we're gonna have a game that has ridiculously high pay to win. Like the ceiling is just right there. You can't even see it, okay? It's in the goddamn clouds and above them even, in fact. And then we're gonna have this relatively small pool of people who are gonna completely bankroll all the money because the ceiling is that high. And, well, that did not work out for them, which means now they need to try and get a bunch of people in and lower the amount of pay to win, because no one wants really to play a game where, it's like, okay, I can play for an hour, but this guy who puts in 50 cents and, suddenly it's like he has played for 10 hours. No one wants to deal with that level of pay to win. So, obviously, they're going to remove it and kind of do it differently. Again, my favorite example in all of these pay to win scenarios is literally, without question, Lost Ark. It can easily be pay to win, but at the same time, no one gives a shit that it's pay to win. No one who plays a game cares about that. I literally never spent a single dime on that game, and, well, I still was always ready to go for a new piece of release content, and I had a character ready, steady, and waiting for it, and 2 characters that, could do it in like a week or 2. It was great. It was great.
This highest end stuff, although the problem with trading and powering up still does exist, so it is still pay to win. And then also there's the fact that with one of these updates, they added that monthly subscription, which was very pay to win with huge convenience features, including that is where you get that bonus to the number of daily dungeon runs that you can do. And as we discussed earlier, that means a lot more access to more gear to power yourself up faster. It is a direct bottleneck that they are letting you circumvent with giving them money. So I'm sure the line of thinking here, by the way, was with that sub, they're probably thinking, hey, barely anyone's playing, and those who have stuck around have been tolerant of all the pay to win thus far. So what's a little bit more? So yeah, they're already addicted to the game, right? Let's give them a monthly subscription with bonuses that are too...
I mean, it works like that, yeah.
Good to pass up so we can boost revenue at least a tiny bit. That is probably more or less what they were saying to themselves when they added this in. Now, with all of that covered, with all that said, I don't want this game to flop. As I said at the beginning, we don't get a lot of traditional MMOs launching.
Same. And again, the Western release is gonna be different. It's gonna be massively different. In fact, keep in mind, again, if you don't know this, Korea and all of those places, their culture for gaming is completely different. They have completely... They have been given this small of a straw, and they're sucking on that slop like there's no tomorrow. They have been literally bred to eat slop at this point in gaming. Okay? They accept everything almost. We don't, thankfully, and we need to keep it that way. So if someone says, oh, what do you care about me being able to purchase? We execute those people. We call them stupid. We force them to quit the game by bullying them out of the game. And, you know, then the game gets better because there's no more slop-eating morons. Remember, every time you see someone who says, "Oh, what do you care about the game being pay to win? You don't have to if you don't have to pay to win," and blah blah blah. You call them out, and you know you mass report them effectively in the game if you can. Everything so they just leave. Okay, they can be slop-eating morons somewhere else. That's up to them, but not in my game. Okay, we have different standards. So there is still hope that Throne and Liberty is going to be good in the West, but I mean, it looks kind of dodgy, boys, not gonna lie, it looks kind of dodgy. Anyway, my hopes are up, and that was Fortis Gaming 10 out of 10. Have a nice day, bye!